Let's log into our UI as OpenPages administrator. On the top right, we can click on the cogwheel and select Manage Workflows to go to the workflow screen. Here, we can click Add New to create a new workflow. We'll enter a name and then select an object type. Here, for this example, we'll use the issue. We can select auto start or manual start. The difference is that auto start will be triggered during the object creation and the manual start is triggered during the task UI, task view. This is the workflow canvas. Let's start by adding a new stage by dragging it across into the canvas. Let's name this review stage and then click add. Let's drag another stage to use as the end stage. Let's just drag it across. Rename it end and click add again. On the right under the properties, we can change this stage to be the end stage. On the left hand side, there are several controls that allow you to center the workflow and to snap it to a grid. This is useful if you have a large workflow that doesn't fit into the screen fully and you want to move it around. You can also zoom in and zoom out. Let's continue by centering our workflow and then adding actions between the stages. To do that, you drag an arrow from the first stage to the second stage and give it a name. For this first action, we'll just give it a default name and click add. For the next stage, we can just drag it across and let's name this complete to use as a completion action. Now if you click on the background, that will bring up the properties of the workflow. Let's add an applicability to this workflow that defines what conditions this workflow will appear for the user. So for this, let's define an object field and set the issue status. If it is open, then this workflow will be active. So we can select this equal to, and then the status drop down of open. And click done. We can see that the applicability is the issue status is open. Now let's go to the first action state and define an action for this. We will set an operation so that when this workflow is started, we will assign a user to a field. We can click add operation, give this a name, say set approver, and then we click add field, and we select the issue approver and assign it a value of, let's give it the OpenPages administrator. And click done. Now in the review stage, you can set other properties like the assignees or subscribers or the due date. But for this example, we'll skip this. Let's edit the action between the second and end stage and set a condition so that the workflow will only progress if the condition is met. Click on the action arrow and let's expand conditions and click on add condition. We'll set the field description and we will test if it is empty or not. The operator, we can set it as not empty. Now, the workflow will only progress if the description field is not empty. We now click Publish to publish the workflow. We can now test the workflow. Let's go to our Issues view and add a new issue. Let's give the issue a name. We'll leave the description field empty, and then we'll enter values for the mandatory fields like the issue owner and the parent. Now if we look at our newly created issue, we can see that the description field is empty and the issue approver is empty. Now on the top right, there's actions drop down, which is where we can start our workflow. So let's start the workflow and we can click continue. Now the workflow has started. If you look at our issue, we can see that the issue approver now has a user. That was part of our first action. You can notice that the action dropdown is no longer there. This is due to the condition we set on the last action state. To allow the workflow to progress, we need to fill in the requirements of the issue object. So let's go and enter values for the description field and any other mandatory fields required. Upon saving the object, we can now see that the workflow action bar is come back, and we can now progress through the workflow. Let's select the complete action. This will now complete the workflow. This now concludes this demonstration.